Now let's move on to the discussion of useful forms that are helpful for recording your observation and assessment data. The forms and data collection make up component number 5 of the critical components for a comprehensive ALLM report. The forms are some of the forms you can find in the Koenig and Holbrook 1995 book, and they are very useful for completing the ALLM. These forms can be found. The list of forms and their page numbers can be found on the inside cover of their LMA book. The form we are going to concentrate on right now is the sensory channel form number 2. The sensory channel form helps you determine the student's most efficient way of gaining information in their educational environment. The sensory channel form provides a way to document the behaviors from your observations of the student. It is recommended and best practice that you conduct a minimum of 3 observations for the time period of 15 to 20 minutes. Choose different times of the school day and different environments and different activities. This is important because the alertness, comfort level, and motivation for each student may fluctuate during the day. It is recommended and best practice that during each of the 3 observations you document 15 discrete behaviors. A discrete behavior is a behavior that has a beginning and an end. Examples are scratching your nose, looking at a ball and then looking away, picking up an object and setting it down without looking at it. Form 2 from the Koenig and Holbrook LMA book is the sensory channels form. Our ALLM should provide an evaluation of what is the most efficient and common sensory channel used by the student. You have copies of the sensory channel form in your packet of materials. In the manual, it is on page 4 and 5. Using the sensory channel form provides some guidelines when we are trying to assess whether the students use auditory, visual, or tactile input as their most efficient way of gaining information from their environment. Again, the proper use of this form is doing 3 different observations, each lasting 15 or 20 minutes, and during each observation you are documenting 15 discrete behaviors that you witnessed during those observations. This is a picture of the use of sensory channels, the sensory channels form. What you're going to do is under observed behavior, you're going to jot down the activity that you observed. And then you are going to check to the right, in that right column where it says sensory channel, you're going to check V if it was mostly visual, T if the child used mostly their tactile sense, or A if the child used mostly their auditory sense. What to look for when a student is using tactile skills. This is from an article, a book by Smith and Levack in 1996, and this is page 1. Some things that will give you a clue that the child is using tactile skills. One is when they are locating objects, they contact it with their hand or arm, and then they search for the object tactually. Another clue may be when they are exploring objects. They move parts of the body over the object. They play with their fingers and toes, and they use fingertips to gain information about the environment around them. When they're manipulating objects, they may shake it, bang it, and make the parts move. For recognizing objects, they may show pleasure when an object that they like is placed into their hand. Page 2, some other indicators that the student is using tactile skills are the student may tactually compare objects. They may respond differently to different temperatures, textures. They may match shapes, or they may shift their touch from object to object. Using object in functional contexts, brushing their hair, eating with a spoon, are using objects for communication. Move an object toward the caregiver or pulls the caregiver to object. Organizes objects, puts away, sorts, and gathers material for an activity. These are all, when I say that they're tactile skills, where you are observing this, that they are using their hands, their tactile skills to do all of these activities, and they are not primarily using vision or their auditory sense. What visual responses may look like are they would turn to a light source, a table lamp, a window, flashlight, or ceiling light. You may notice the widening of the eyes when the student is presented with a visual, such as a picture or object. And you may notice a shifting of eye gaze toward the visual stimulus or when given a verbal cue on where to look. Additionally, other visual responses may look like the student's breathing changes when presented a visual stimulus, an increase or decrease in their muscle tone, or a calmness or sense of relaxation is demonstrated by the student when they are presented with a visual stimulus. You're ready for self-check number 5. Go to the next section and complete the questions regarding tactual and visual responses. Thank you.